And we're rolling.
Yeah.
You're on screen.
I'm on screen.
Yeah.
Great.
So,
what am I supposed to be? Hi.
Thank you for joining us today. My name is Daniel Duwa, and today I have Beraccah on this nature trail, let's say. And we're just gonna sit here and probably just have a conversation.
Yeah.
And see how that goes. Beraccah, I met you at your concert recently at
Alliance Concerts.
Alliance.
Yeah.
It was my first interaction with your music. So please, let's start an introduction and just probably tell us who Beraccah is.
That's a very large question, I feel. Who is Beraccah and what is she about? Well, I'm a human woman, a musician, but lately I'm trying to expand my definition of who I am to be more than just what I do. So, because I believe that like we're all more than what we do. In fact, you're so valuable even when you're just lying down. Like you have so much potential. So, yeah, I love music, and that's my form of like expression. And the goal of my music is to help people, or at least help myself transcend through music, like really addressing things that I feel are blockages, like energy blockages in my brain. Like if I can't stop thinking about it, I have to write a song about it. And if I constantly like receiving that message from like the world around me, I'll have to write a song about it. So yeah, that's my thing, I guess.
How did you get to music? Because some of us, we had grandfathers who played music, and you had to call them and say, I'm a kid.
Yeah.
And fathers who did. What's your journey to music?
I started very early in life. When I was learning like how to speak English and like just how to speak in general. My mom used to sing me songs, and I used to turn all the songs in these, like, you know, those children's books you read. I used to like turn all the like chapters into like songs, so it would make it more easier for me to understand. And I remember like I have an elder brother and sister, and like we're very, very close. So like growing up, there's a point where they went to boarding school and I was left all alone, and I was like, oh man, I'm just like really bored. So what I used to do in lieu of playing with my brother and sister was like I'd pretend I'm like doing a concert. I'd like get up on stage and like do a little concert, you know. And I've constantly had that image in my mind since I was a child, that image of me like on stage performing to music that I've like written. So when I was so it continued kind of like that until I got to like primary school, where I had a really awkward phase where I don't like being like the center of attention, which is quite a weird place to be as a creative, like, because as a performer, like your point is to be the center of attention.
Exactly.
But I've never quite been so comfortable being the center of attention. So early in school, I used to pretend to be really bad at music, so no one would like pick on me, like, or like the teachers wouldn't be like, you Beraccah, go do this because you're good at music. I just like stay under the radar, you know. Then after a while, like because I was doing really bad in music, like the teacher was like, yo, we're gonna make you do like after school classes. And I was like, not about that life. I'm not about to stay late after school. Like that is my special private time to play with my sister and my brother. Like I don't need to be in school after after hours. So I immediately just started like doing well at music, so that like I wouldn't have to like stay behind at school. And I found that it didn't make me the center of attention, which is like it just gave me a way to express myself that was. That's my little bubble scratcher.
If I hold it, it looks like yeah. So they leave the house. They're performing concerts.
Yeah.
For yourself?
Yeah, for myself.
To fill in the time?
Yeah.
So how do you get from performing concerts for yourself?
And my teddy bears.
Yeah, and your teddy bears, to performing for massive audiences?
To be honest, like I'm still in that place where like my first audience is like my teddy bears, and then my siblings, and then like the big stage.
What's the name of your teddy bears?
There's Harold, there's Uncle Brian, who's also has a namesake that's my puppy, a real dog. And then so there's Harold, Uncle Brian, and Pierre. Pierre is so cool. He's like wears boxers and shades, and he's just like sitting there like judging me. He's like Simon Cowell of the panel, but he's really like he has really constructive things to contribute. So yeah, those are my teddy bears, my first audience.
Okay.
And then
there's your siblings.
And then there's my siblings, that's Hepzibah and Philip. That's my second audience. My human audience, my first human audience.
And your parents?
Strangely enough, I find it really hard to like sing to my parents because they've been quite conservative in the past. Like they're not very conservative now because all my family are like weirdos, mad weirdos. So my parents.
When you say conservative, you mean?
They've been very just their views of life. They always thought that I should be like a gospel singer, a Christian artist, and I don't deny that there's a huge element of spirituality to my music, and in fact my whole life.
Shows, by the way.
Thank you. Like, I don't know if you should be proud of that, but yeah, like the spiritual aspect of it is very important. But it's been very hard to express that to my parents in the past. But now they're getting like they're more like relaxed about it. My dad was actually at the show.
And I saw him immediately after the concert, jumps up. Middle-aged man jumps up and gives you a big hug after your performance.
That's my daddy. He like, my parents have, I think it's been actually just a mental hang-up that I have had, being afraid to share with them what I do. Because they've always been so supportive. Like my mom, again, I was telling you, she's the first person who used to sing with me and we used to make all these weird songs together. And then my dad, like, when I decided I wanted to go forward with this music thing and go full professional, I wanted to study music, like a full power course abroad, like fancy college. And my dad like straight up was just like cool, like no prob, and not a lot of parents, African parents especially, would be totally cool with their daughter.
Parents are changing.
They're really changing, and the times are really changing. So I'm really glad for that, and I'm so like thankful for their support. And I'm slowly learning to let go of my own like egoic hang-ups concerning sharing with them what I do, because I do know that they're not. Just because they have their views doesn't mean that they're not dynamic or that they don't understand things on a very, very like crazy level. Like my parents are highly intelligent and so like intuitive and very, very spiritual. In fact, they're the reason I am the way I am.
Okay. What are some of those values that are impacted in you?
Yeah.
Just in general life, and then probably you bring them into the art. Yeah. What are those values?
First things first, my dad always told me like not to go along with what other people think is cool or whatever, just to like be my own person and do my own thing. They always like want me to think for myself. Like my dad always told me to think for myself. Like I went to like pretty basic like school system. Like everybody, like you're taught to think in a certain way and write in a certain way. And my parents were always like, I'd go to school and be like, I'd wear like a Che Guevara T-shirt. I remember once I wore a Che Guevara T-shirt, and I was going to this American school, and they were like, like you're not allowed to wear that in school. Like that guy's a terrorist. They made me like change, and I was like Che Guevara, like what the hell?
Yeah.
So
and in Kenya that will never happen because we have such different kind of freedoms, and we fought. I mean, I was part of that revolution.
Yeah.
We have certain freedoms that the rest of the world haven't gotten in touch with. And coming from Nairobi, Kenya, and schooling, which school did you go to, by the way?
I went to lots of schools. I moved schools a lot, but mainly I went to the school called Rusinga in in Lavington area, like Kangari near there.
Yeah.
And then I graduated from this school called West Nairobi in Karen, yeah.
Okay. And then for your studies in music?
For university, I went to George Fox University in the States, in Oregon.
Okay.
And they have like an amazing music program. That it was like a liberal arts Christian college. So they also had a bit of that conservatism in that community. So I always find myself kind of contesting that kind of placid view of life. Like things you shouldn't be like content, because the world is so messed up. There's so many problems to fix.
Yeah.
So I always find it really weird when I go to a place and people are so content and they think in just one kind of, everybody thinks in the same way. Like I'm like, you mean there's not one guy who's like, wait, what did he say? Just question, have a question.
Yeah.
So
but it is actually not that channel for you.
That 100%. Like art is where I get to ask all the questions and be a complete insurrectionist, where normally I'm quite nice and kind, and I don't want to make people I am like that, because I was raised in a conservative culture. I find myself I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. But when I sit down to do music, or when I'm on stage, it's like this thing comes over me that's like, yo, we need to fuck shit up. So I would describe my life, my philosophy of life as true punk. I believe in true punk. That you should, if you see something that needs to get done, do it yourself, build it, build this life, the life that you think the world should be. You should build that yourself. And I think that we should say what needs to be said. We shouldn't hide our true selves. Freedom of expression, basically.
And that punk is showing, because we've been sitting here for a bit of a while, for a short while, and everybody just, the attention that you're garnering. People walking on the road and they're just like,
yo, hey. Yeah. I love that too.
Yeah.
It's part of life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what are some of the similarities that you've gotten from playing for your dolls here and going to a proper liberal arts school in the States? And then what are the gaps that you've come back to in the Kenyan music industry, Kenyan music scene? Because I don't feel like we have an industry yet.
Yeah.
But what are those similarities, differences?
Similarities, I would say, the focus and attention to practice and the detail. Kenyan musicians are very detail oriented, and they're so incredible. I don't think I've seen musicians so proper anywhere I've traveled in the world. So I find that quite I find that's a common theme. Musicians, we have a very strong culture of practice. We encourage each other to practice. Also, the spirit of collaboration is a thing that I've noticed globally. As artists, there's no way you can do anything without collaborating. That's the only way we get ahead. So I find that's a very great, a huge similarity. I'd say disparities, first things first, I would say Kenyan musicians are some of the best musicians I've ever experienced in my life.
Is that a biased opinion?
I don't think it's a biased opinion, because I never really knew how to classify myself or identify, because I've been raised in such a global kind of community, and I travel a lot, went to school everywhere in the world, and so I'm kind of a global citizen, and so I found it very difficult to describe myself specifically as a Kenyan musician, and feel safe in that identity. A lot of times I've even felt subpar, because I don't have the same training as Kenyan musicians. I have more of a classical background, and Kenyan musicians have this improvisational, it's very technical, very it's very dynamic. It's like very true. It's like in the moment, like this genius that comes out of the moment. And it's like everywhere else I travel, like there's this huge, of course everywhere there's an emphasis on practice, but it's like you have to do the performance like you practiced, and it's like it has to.
It's a very linear project.
Yeah, it's very linear.
Yeah.
But here I found that like every time you play it, it's different. When you're like working with a Kenyan band, like every time you play it, it's gonna be different. It's gonna be cool, and it's going to like have this like energy. So
I worked with. Sorry, I was interrupting.
No,
I worked with one of the most famous Kenyan jazz artists for a while, and he was trained classically in classical music. Then he came to jazz, and he liked the freedom to improvise and to put African tunes into them. And he used to play at all these jazz festivals, and the reaction and the engagement was just totally different. And we have this thing of what is Kenyan music. Should we be asking what elements of the music is Kenyan? What are we bringing? Because asking what Kenyan, setting a tune for us, that's a difficult thing, just like fashion, what's Kenyan fashion. But saying what element in the fashion in the world
is the Kenyan. It's true, that's true. Because I would say like, there's something so special about Kenya. Every time I travel, I'm like, I just want to go home. Like, I just want to be home. There's something about this place that's so special. It's like a special masala that like you can't find anywhere else. And so I find that Kenyan art has that, like, you can tell like that's by a Kenyan artist, that's by a Kenyan musician. It doesn't have to be a certain accent or like you don't have to use a certain phrase to communicate the energy of like Kenyanness. I found that a lot also in my classical training when the things I'd choose to perform and the pieces that I'd choose were often very like would carry this flavor, this African flavor. At first, like I'd had to do like the set pieces, and I would really found them boring, singing German and like Italian. And it's interesting. I mean, it's like it's something classic. New, it's something different, but it just didn't have this like this thing that punches you in the gut. You know, it didn't like have this poignancy that I seek when I'm doing music. So eventually I found like this Cuban composer called Javier Monsalvage, and it changed everything. Like I suddenly like the music made sense. Like I started doing better in school. My recitals were like really tip top, you know. So I think
what about Javier that just brought you to this conclusion, to this place of comfort, let's say?
Well, his music wasn't about like, oh, I'm a German girl in love, or oh, I'm a Italian boy who's going through adolescence, which are really normal things. Like those people exist, but this music was about like black people, and like it was about revolution. It was about like domestic, like the domestic lives of African people, and I could relate to that more. Like it made more sense because I could relate to that. I've seen revolution. I've lived in I live African households. I am an African, so I could relate a lot more. And I think when you can relate to like your art, like what you're saying about the empathy mapping, like if you can relate to like what you're creating, then it makes more sense. It becomes more natural. It communicates like in a more natural way instead of just being like flat. Like what are you saying? Yeah. So I think that relatability is something that's really important when it comes to, at least for myself in my personal work, but I also, because I think it provides this inspiration, you can never know if something truly relates to the listener.
Yeah, true.
And so that's always just a gamble. You're just like, I'm just gonna throw this out there and hope that somebody catches it.
True.
Yeah.
And to go back to empathy mapping, is just a process of doing stuff or creating stuff, and you just for me, for example, in my poetry, in my work, in these things, I start with who's the audience, who am I talking to, then bring my experience to that. First of all, your concert was very interesting. You were playing a guitar and your drummer, what's his name?
Fariji Napa, check him out, he's incredible. He's from Congo, he's literally so incredible.
What is it? Okay. Oh, and by the way, we're out in the field, so there'll be a lot of distractions. The planes are flying. Nairobi is happening. I mean, it's a town that never sleeps. Yeah. So Fariji, so your concert's amazing. You're playing guitar, you're singing, and then you'll be drummer with Fariji, right? Tell us about that project. How did you come about that concept? I'm losing my words.
The concept of that concert specifically. Well, I've been traveling for quite a while, like maybe since August around Kenya. I've been trying to look for new inspiration for my music and also just find a new confidence performance-wise, because I felt for a long time that my sound was too far out, you know. But then that's like an ego talking. Like, people are smart. People like know what they like know like. They have such a wide understanding of music. So I was trying to get myself to a place where I'm comfortable with what my sound is, not trying to conform to any other person's sound, and harness that uniqueness and like kind of explode it. I was in Lamu for like 3 weeks in November. October, this is November. In October I was in Lamu. I was all alone for like I was like all alone for all the few weeks on this island called Kipungani, and I had this like a lot of realization of exactly how I want to create my music and how I want to communicate this sound. So the main thing that I realized I want to again communicate is true punk, and for a long time I have a very like folk music background. I've done like folk music and country music for quite a while. I feel very comfortable there. So I was like, how do I merge these two things? And so I tried to come up with like a folk punk kind of show. Fariji and I, we met in Kilifi like last year, and like it's so funny, he saw me and he's like, that girl, I gotta like play a show with this girl. And I also saw him and I was like, this guy is too sick. He plays guitar and he sings, like he's so amazing. This was actually his first time playing percussion, and he killed it, right? We killed it.
And that, what was that thing he was playing?
He was playing two djembes and a cajon. Yeah. So it's like a soundboard. It's like the cajon is like plywood that's all kind of arranged inside and creates different points of resonance. Yeah, so it's quite an interesting kind of drum. But yeah, so after we did that show together in Kilifi, I started doing this art residency, creative art residency called Suchuru. It's an art exchange program between France and Kenya. And eventually Fariji got involved, and so he got involved in Suchuru. So we started like performing together. Like I'd do background vocals for him, and he'd do for me, and he'd play guitar for me, and I'd play for him. So we had this relationship going, and then he moved into my apartment. So like we became housemates, and made things so much easier. So when I got called to do this show, I was like, obviously like Fariji's like good to go. He's gonna do I looked for a few percussionists and it was kind of difficult, so I was like, Fariji, like what can we do about this? And he's like, I'll play for you, fam. So we practiced, and he really I've been looking at the footage from the concert, and I realized that he really got the idea that I was trying to bring across, this folk punk mix. So like it's like a mixture. That show came about as a mixture of inspiration and improvisation, and just a need for like true expression and confident expression. Fariji really like created space for me to do that. So I'm literally so thankful for him. He's such a beautiful soul. You have to meet him. And his stories insane.
Yeah.
Because he's like, he's born and raised in Congo.
Yeah.
He just moved to Kenya recently because of like all the Congo like craziness that happens.
Yeah.
So he he has crazy stories. He'd be telling us like, yo, I have this really funny story. It's so funny, Beraccah. One day, when I was in high school, we heard people just like some commotion outside. Kumbe, it was like rebels. They came. It's a very funny day because we all ran. There were books everywhere, and I'm like, bruv, that sounds like the post-apocalypse. Like that does not sound like fun. But he's like a very interesting character. Like his view on like what is like he has this joy for life because he's seen so much bullshit. So like his view on what sucks and what's like actually sucks is quite interesting. Like it makes me
and that's an interesting thing because I wanted to go to collaboration, but now that you brought that, we are living in a very different Kenya today. I mean, you find the generation that's going now, their view of what sucks is very different from not even a generation ago, like 5 years ago.
Yeah,
10 years ago.
literally
Stuff is really changed. Not having that on your phone is
that sucks.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Than not having food, because we're not dealing with issues of not having food, we're dealing with issues of connectivity. Like you don't have that on your phone, you're going crazy, you lose your mind. Living in that kind of world and going through this transition, and I want to bring that also to how do you collaborate and how do you write your music in that kind of setup, because we live in a world in a country that's changing so fast, and of course it's not perfect. We have the rich and the poor, the gap is really growing, but at the same time you think about your drama and the percussionists and your influence. They're coming from a very different world that we'll never know. Hopefully. But then also, you're coming from a world where I feel like we have a lot of privilege.
That's the word.
How do you exist in this world? Those many worlds, because you're not living only in Nairobi. Even within Nairobi, there are all this stuff. And then you have the influence from your schooling and then you travel all over the world. And then you have somebody who is coming from this. And then now you have to collaborate and create art. How do you survive in that world? How do you create stuff in that world?
I recently listened to this podcast from Oprah. I love Oprah. Super Soul Sunday. She was talking to this lady. What was her name? She's like Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote the book Eat, Pray, Love.
Eat, Pray, Love.
Yeah. Okay. And she was also addressing the issue of empathy, and she has this mantra where when she can't understand other people or when she's frustrated with somebody else, she says, just like me, that person is such a dick. Okay, wait, just like me though. So I really like that's something that's very I've been raised to kind of think in that way. My parents are always like, yo, you're not like, recognize where you are, but like you shouldn't be afraid to like go out and like interact with people, because just because you have what you have, like your things are not who you are. What you do is not who you are. And so it's always, for me, it's important to get to the root of who you are.
And who are you?
Yeah, who am I?
Yeah.
I'm a spiritual being. I'm the ultimate creator, the supreme like Godhead, and you are too. It's just that we have this we live in this world of an illusion. Like we have so many clothes. Our body is one of those clothes that it's well, not your body, but I think your senses. A lot of time, our senses disconnect us from the truth that we actually like so like powerful. And so Rumi has this quote. He says, when you receive a gift, don't look at the gift, look at the giver.
Yes.
Like when you can actually look into into somebody's connect with somebody on a personal level rather than like what you have or what you do.
Again,
like
empathy mapping.
Yeah, empathy mapping. Yeah. Exactly, that's it.
Yeah. And you talked about gods and goddesses, and for very many years I've done documentaries, these kind of things, and I've always wanted to do one documentary that's eluded me for a really long time on Nairobi women.
Yeah.
And it's eluded me for a while. But then we lost our mom, and I have a new book that's coming out on just women in Nairobi.
Wow.
And the quotes are these Greek goddess quotes. And then there's the Kenyan saying. And the one I like the most is this girl just sitting there, and down there is written, Boss Lady, Kenyan saying.
Yes! That's awesome. Boss Lady! That's it.
Yeah.
That's totally it. I feel like if all of us can like really exist in that truth of our excellence, like we're not competing with anyone else, like because we are just one connected consciousness, like allowing ourselves to express ourselves in the most like incredible way. When I was in Kupungani, I've come up with this new routine in life where these days I wake up like with the sun and I go to sleep like at a normal time. I used to like really do full power this entertainment business, like no sleep. But I'm trying to be more like in tune with nature and like be more like connected. So watching the sunrise from the ocean every morning, I looked at that and I was like, yo, like that's like sun is just being the sun. It's not like, oh, today I'm going to put on this makeup and like, it's just like, bruh, I'm doing my duty. I'm just waking up, being the sun.
Personally, for many years, I believe the best poems I could write was at 3 o'clock in the morning. But then when you sleep. Now, as I grow older, I'm coming to a realization that my best works are when I'm relaxed, when I'm chilled, when it comes to me. And but you have to seek it. Like for example, that's where we're sitting out here in this space. How do you seek your art?
How do I seek
what are some of the hidden places that you go to find your art? But you haven't even told us what are these things that form your art. So there's music.
Yes. There's music.
Yes.
There is, well, I dabble in design.
Okay. What kind of design?
Fashion design and styling. My sister is like such a killer fashion fashion artist. Like she's just like is a genius actually. She's like a genius. So I've been working with her for several years, like designing concepts for outfits and like different like all my shows, like we make the clothes ourselves and like we're into this DIY thing because true punk. So it's like if you can see it in your mind, you can create it out there. That's what I so love about it. Like because it's like manifestation like of the right there.
So fashion, music.
Fashion, music, and what else do I do? I like to write. I wouldn't call myself a writer, but I do write poetry. That's when especially when I find myself in a creative block, I really like seek poetry and like write a lot of poetry. It helps me like loosen up.
Okay. And how do you deal with blocks? Because personally, I'm of two opinions. The first one is very controversial to a lot of people. I mean, in the sense, if you want to write. Like just take a piece of paper, open whatever it is, put the stuff. If you wanna sing.
Yeah, that's it.
So by that definition, there's no block.
There's no. I'm totally like of that opinion.
Yes, but the opposite is also true because I feel like you remember the I don't remember what it's called. I think it's psycho movement or working with nature. There are times when you get overwhelmed, and you get overwhelmed for many reasons. Life happens, all these things happen. But then sometimes you just need a break from it. That's why we're sitting here. It fills your spirit. So on one hand, yes, there's no block. But then if you're overwhelmed, you're tired, you've exhausted yourself, you need nurturing. For 2 years, I didn't write any piece of poetry at all. But then again, when I got to 32 years old, I lost all my work. I'd done all my life. Everything that I'd worked on
that's amazing.
just disappeared. But then that's the story of Mark Twain too. I mean, he got on a train with all his books and stuff. Got lost, and he came to write all this awesome stuff after. So because I think sometimes we use this, especially as artists, because Imagine you go to an accountant or doctor and says, "Oh, today I have a block. I can't treat you."
Yeah.
Never happened.
Yeah. Totally.
So why is an artist film? I feel like it's a crunch. It's an excuse.
It really is. I think
in
it
many
is.
ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think that, like, again, like, if you want, if even truly,
Yeah.
like, you think that you're creatively blocked,
Yeah.
like, you're gonna find a way to release that, like, blockage.
Yeah.
And when you release that blockage, you realize that it wasn't really a blockage.
Yeah.
It was more just like your ego. Like, at least I know myself, when I have a creative block,
Yeah.
it's because I want to create something perfect from the get-go. Like, I want, when I look at the page, it's like, wow, that is genius, sis. But at the end of the day, like, I feel like there's this expression that wants to come out. Like, these trees, they grow because they want to grow. Like, they're seeking the sun. Like, like, this expression wants to come out of them. These leaves want to come out of them. The roots want to spread. And myself, I find that, like, when I'm having creative block, it's mostly because I'm distracting myself from what comes naturally, from this need to be, like, to seek the sun, the need to, like, go out and look for inspiration. That's a lot of the reason why I'm traveling currently, because I was in my head a lot, and I was having a creative block because I was in my head trying to come up with inspiration from inside, from a deep place that was so perfect, you know. And then, like, I realized that there's nothing, like, I couldn't see anything that was like, sparked any sort of, like, creative impulse. And it was just because of where my environment, and I had to remove myself from my environment, my comfortable environment, and go out into the world and look for new stories, and, like, make a new story out of my life also, and, like, learn something new, and create, like, open up my creative like, centers in my brain, through, like, just, like, leaving the house, like, going outside, talking to people, like, meeting new people. And yeah, like, it's crazy how it just in the past 3 months, I'm getting my style of playing has changed, my vocal technique has changed, the way that I write. I've written, like, so much new music. And I also went through a similar thing where I lost my instruments, and I lost my all my material from years and years, and a lot of work I'd been, like, really, like, holding on to. I lost it all.
How do you lose this stuff?
Through just life experience. It's crazy. Like, my guitars, I like, had a nice little collection going, and then at the beginning of the year, I got, like, evicted from my house, and these auctioneers came and they took everything. And so, like, a lot of my path has been learning non-attachment, because I realized if I attach myself to this stuff, I won't, like, get to the deeper thing. And that's what I mean by, again, like, there's so much more deeper than these clothes that we wear, and losing those things has helped me, like, let go, and, like, create space for some new inspiration, something that's, like, even better than what I imagined. And for sure, like, my life is outrageously, unbelievably, like, brilliant. All the, like, when I just, like, step outside, when I can step outside the house and just, like open my eyes, like, I'm always surrounded by, like, such incredible experience.
This has been Kenyan Stories. You can listen to Kenyan Stories on your favorite podcast app. You can also listen to Kenyan Stories by asking your voice assistant to play Kenyan Stories. And also, you can listen now to Kenyan Stories on YouTube. Some are going to be videos, the rest are going to be audios, but you can listen to Kenyan Stories or Conversation with Daniel Duwa, the other podcast I do, on YouTube. Remember also, there are shopping links that you can use to support this channel and support this work. Thanks for listening. Share, like, comment, spread the word. Remember, these are the stories of our time. My name is Daniel Duwa. Till next time, I hope you enjoyed this. Bye-bye.